I'm Liyana Hassanel, and this is Nightline. The top stories. 6 human skeletons found in burnt Johor house. 2 suspects to be charged with murder on Wednesday. Inland Revenue Board detects 1.4 billion ringgit in undeclared income. Good morning. We begin the bulletin with this story. 2 men are set to be charged with murder following the discovery of the charred skeletal remains of 6 people, including 3 young children, in a remote abandoned house in Kangkar Pulai, Johor. Johor Police Chief Datu Abdul Rahman Arsad said 4 suspects had initially been arrested in connection with the case, with 2 of them expected to be hauled to court on Wednesday. The house is a dilapidated structure located within an oil palm plantation, about 2 kilometers from the main road, with no water or electricity supply. The grisly findings were made on January 9th by a 48-year-old local man who had been searching for his family after losing contact with them 3 months prior. The man told police the location was believed to have been where his wife and their children were staying after the couple separated.
Angka-angka ini telah pun tidak bercerai dan juga dah dijangka mati lebih daripada hampir 3 bulan.
The victims were identified as a 35-year-old woman, her 4 children aged between 2 and 17, and a 29-year-old man believed to be an acquaintance of the woman.
Mereka ni sama-sama penagih dadah. Jadi mereka ni lebih kepada hubungan kawan sepenagih dan bukanlah ada hubungan keluarga. Lebih kepada rakan.
Police said the remaining 2 suspects have been released on police bail and will serve as prosecution witnesses during the trial. The Inland Revenue Board, LHDN, has detected 1.4 billion ringgit in undeclared income through checks under the e-invoicing system. It involved more than 17,000 individuals who later paid a total of 290 million ringgit in taxes after receiving reminder notices. According to LHDN, those involved had previously failed to submit income tax returns. The e-invoicing system has also identified more than 500,000 potential cases involving individuals with high spending capacity that does not match their tax records. As a result, the agency has carried out audit reviews and issued reminders to encourage voluntary disclosures in cases of errors or non-compliance. Since its introduction in August 2024, 184,325 taxpayers have submitted e-invoices. This has resulted in the issuance of 979 million e-invoices to date. On Monday, LHDN also revealed that more than 10 billion ringgit in overseas accounts had not been declared. It involved nearly 15,000 Malaysian tax residents. The discovery of 1.4 billion ringgit in unreported income through e-invoice checks highlights the growing role of digital systems in strengthening tax compliance. Chartered Tax Institute of Malaysia's CTIM President Sohlian Seng said the findings show how effective e-invoicing has become as a compliance tool.
This makes it much harder for discrepancies to go undetected, even where income was previously not declared. My advice to taxpayers who may be affected is to come forward voluntarily and regularize their tax affairs early.
So said the system allows LHDN to match income against spending patterns and transaction data in near real time. Kuala Lumpur Mayor Datuk Fadlun Mak Wujud has been instructed to immediately address weaknesses identified in contract management at Kuala Lumpur City Hall, or DBKL. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Federal Territories, Hannah Yeoh, said the improvements must be carried out through clearer and more transparent measures. She stressed that the move is aimed at closing loopholes that could allow corrupt practices, including those involving enforcement actions.
Saya telah minta Datuk Bandar segerakan supaya rakyat tahu ini adalah proses permohonan lesen dan ini adalah tindakan penguatkuasaan. Semuanya black and white, semua orang jelas, jadi tak ada ruang untuk interpretasi yang berbeza.
Meanwhile, Fadlun acknowledged that several standard operating procedures involving DBKL contracts and licensing were unclear. He said a new committee will be set up to review and address the issues.
Mungkin bermusyawarah lebih kerap. Contoh untuk bazar Ramadan. Kalau kita tunggu sebulan dah habis dah bazar Ramadan. Kekerapan dia mungkin 2 hari sekali. Bila kita pergi ke tapak dan dipati contohnya lesen itu dijual pada harga mahal, kita akan terus ambil tindakan dan bermusyawarah untuk kita batalkan lesen tersebut.
Both were speaking after the signing of a memorandum of cooperation between the Federal Territories Department and the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or MACC, in Putrajaya. Previously, the MACC proposed 20 improvement measures to DBKL to strengthen governance and plug leakages across 5 key areas. These include the management and allocation of Ramadan and Aidilfitri Bazaar sites, as well as rental collection for public housing and people's housing projects. Meanwhile, Hannah said the government will wait for the full findings of an ongoing study on local government elections, including the possible election of the Kuala Lumpur mayor, before making any policy decision. She stressed that the study is being conducted independently by academics from a reputable public university and not by any political party.
Selepas kita dengar kajian, boleh buat, tak boleh buat, baru kita akan sediakan kertas kabinet untuk maklumkan kepada kabinet sama ada Jabatan Wilayah Persekutuan nak pindah akta atau tidak pindah akta. At this point of time, it's premature to comment because baru lakukan proses kajian.
She added that the study began in December last year during the tenure of the previous Federal Territories Minister. In a related development, MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki said other reforms proposed by the Commission, including reviewing and limiting the executive powers of the Kuala Lumpur Mayor, should also be considered for other local authorities nationwide.
Perkara ini baik untuk kami sebagai sekretariat, kita bawakan kepada masyarakat supaya best practices begini boleh dicadangkan kepada mana-mana PBT, kerana kena ingat bukan semua PBT ada hak kerajaan negeri masing-masing. Jadi kita dalam keadaan sekarang saya tak boleh mengatakan nak paksa atau tidak.
He said cooperation and mutual understanding between both parties are also crucial in strengthening actions recommended by the MACC. The Sultan of Selangor wants those found guilty of Sunday's incident at the Kuala Terengganu drawbridge to face the full force of the law. Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah said this when issuing a warning to Selangor FC supporters not to tarnish the good name of the state following the incident, which led to the arrest of 33 supporters. The Selangor ruler said he was deeply saddened and disappointed by the incident, which occurred ahead of the Super League match between Terengganu FC and Selangor FC at Sultan Mizan Zainal Abidin Stadium. While calling on the police to identify those behind the incident, Sultan Sharafuddin, who was the patron of Selangor FC, said he does not condone immoral behavior, such as gangsterism and hooliganism among football supporters. Police have detained about 400 supporters in its probe into the incident. The Education Ministry said the hiring of 20,000 teachers on contract will not affect the placement opportunities of existing reserve teacher candidates. Its Deputy Minister Wong Kah-Woh said discussions have been held with the Education Service Commission on the placement of qualified reserve candidates. The recruitment exercise will focus on primary schools, as it is a special intake to meet the expected increase in Year 1 enrollment next year.
Pengambilan guru baharu ini sememangnya tidak akan menjejaskan peluang daripada mereka yang telah pun diduga tetapi dikategorikan sebagai calon simpanan. Calon simpanan kadang-kadang bergantung pada kelayakan, mungkin ia akan ditempatkan di sekolah rendah, sekolah menengah dan di option-option yang berlainan.
Last Friday, the ministry said applications for the recruitment of 20,000 grade DG9 contract teachers will be open from 2nd to 20th March. And that's part of early preparations for the Malaysia Education Blueprint 2026 to 2035, and to support the voluntary enrollment of 6-year-olds into Year 1 next year.
How have recent foreign capital flows turned supportive for Malaysia? What do these movements reveal about investor behavior and market sentiment? How are these trends influencing Malaysia's financial markets? Azaria Tagaya speaks with RAM Ratings Head of Economic Research, Woon Kai-jack, only on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. on DBKL and stream on Tonton.
Local exporters have been urged to manage risks strategically to remain competitive amid the strengthening ringgit. Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani said movements in the ringgit are a normal market phenomenon with varying impacts depending on business models. He said effective strategy management allows companies to mitigate the effects of currency fluctuations.
Basically, ringgit up and down ini ada sektor yang benefit, ada sektor yang terkesan. Jadi kalau dia balik ke normal level, ada industri yang akan benefit, ada industri yang akan terkesan. That's normal. So kalau sebagai sebuah entiti perniagaan, basically kita ada banyak cara untuk manage kita punya hedging mechanism, macam mana kita protect kita punya supply chain, macam mana kita protect kita punya customer. All this is actually depend on individual business, the type of business that you're doing.
The minister added that currency management strategies differ across industries and business operations. On Tuesday, ringgit ended higher against dollar, regional currencies on continued optimism over Malaysia's economic growth outlook. At the same event, Johari said Malaysia's participation in the Agreement on Reciprocal Trade, ART, with the U.S. is based on economic interests and does not compromise national sovereignty. The minister stressed that participation in trade agreements is a strategic move, including ones that protect local exporters from high tariffs.
Paling penting kita kena jaga kedaulatan negara. Tapi kalau ekonomi, business is up to the present government to look into it. Kalau besok you tak suka, there is a clause in the agreement. You tak suka anytime you boleh keluar, but you face the consequences. Mungkin you kena tarif 50, 40, 30.
Speaking after officiating the GD Exchange launch in Petaling Jaya, Johari said Malaysia has signed 17 free trade agreements to date. However, he added that the trade approach with the United States under the ART is unilateral in nature. Tragedy strikes Malacca Prefect. More news from the local front after this breather.
Setiap kes yang dilakukan pembunuhan, suspek akan menjilat darah mangsa.
Dapat air mani pada cadar dan juga luar dalam si mati.
Suspek ini, dia tahu bahawa si mati ini seorang yang tidak berdaya.
Dia telah tiada, namun suaranya tidak akan pernah padam. Sebuah karya yang mengangkat kebenaran yang cuba dilenyapkan, simbol kegagalan dunia dalam melindungi nyawa yang tidak berdosa. Paparan kekejaman tanpa batasan. Setiap titisan air mata adalah gema kesedaran sejagat yang menggoncang dunia. The Voice of Hind Rajab. Sebagai tanda solidariti, bersama kita teruskan perjuangan ini.
Kenapa ni bro? Otak aku kena piang lah bro.
Dendam yang membisu.
Kau ingat dengan duit keping dia RM10 kau tu.
Dia tanggung anak ini tau.
Pilihan yang memaksa membongkar segalanya.
Tapi yang ni risau. Kalau duit yang abang dapat tu daripada sumber yang tak halal.
Diamlah yang ni. Abang keluar cari duit. Cari duit lebih macam-macam kerja abang buat untuk nak tanggung keluarga kita. Yang ni tahu tak?
Ringkat Ahad ini 9 malam di Cereka Ahad TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Ketahui asal-usul makanan tempatan melalui pelancongan gastronomi.
Sindrom Prader-Willi, penyakit rasa lapar yang luar biasa.
Bijak ketika memandu, usahlah biadab di jalan raya.
Awas, jangan terkena jerat percintaan, takut jadi mangsa love scam.
Nilai ringgit semakin kukuh, tambah keuntungan dengan teknik jual beli mata wang.
MHI, Isnin hingga Jumaat.
Eksklusif di TV3 dan Tonton.
Thanks for staying with us. Gold and silver prices are expected to recover in the medium to long term after declining over the weekend. According to the Malaysia Gold Association, MGA, the sharp fluctuations in precious metal prices are driven by ongoing global geopolitical uncertainty. Gold prices fell 1.8% to 605 ringgit per gram, following the largest daily drop since 1983 last Friday. Silver prices have declined by about 33% since hitting a recent peak last week. At the same time, demand for gold is clearly shifting from jewelry to investment products, with 60% of buyers opting for gold coins and bars. A 10-kilometer stretch of river in Malacca has turned black and foul-smelling, believed to be caused by untreated industrial wastewater in Bukit Rambai. The pollution, which has persisted for nearly 3 weeks, is said to have affected thousands of residents in nearby areas. The contamination is believed to have originated from the Bukit Rambai flood retention pond before flowing into Sungai Air Salak and Sungai Malim, turning the water dark and oily. Many residents have been forced to keep doors and windows closed due to the strong odor. The pollution has also affected agricultural activities, as residents rely on the river water to irrigate vegetable and fruit crops. Malacca's Department of Environment, DOE, together with related agencies, has taken water samples to identify the type of pollution and trace those responsible. Kelabang Assemblyman Datuk Lim Ban Hong said a special committee will be set up to address the pollution and oversee river restoration efforts. In Negeri Sembilan, a routine trip to visit a friend turned fatal for two brothers after their motorcycle lost control and crashed into a drain under construction near Jalan Bunga Tanjung on Monday night. The 17-year-old rider was traveling with his 14-year-old brother towards Kuala Ina after dinner at 10 p.m. Tampin District Police Chief Amiruddin Sariman said the motorcycle lost control while negotiating a bend and struck the drain. The impact caused a Pilihan younger brother, a prefect at a school in Malacca, to be thrown into the 10-meter deep drain. He was rescued by firefighters. The rider sustained minor injuries, while his brother was pronounced dead at the Tampin Hospital at around 11:30 p.m. Police are investigating the case under the Road Transport Act. Police have arrested a 28-year-old man suspected of killing his mother in Alostar less than 24 hours after the incident. The suspect was detained at around 8:30 on Monday night while traveling on an express bus along the North-South Expressway en route to Selangor. He was later brought before the Alostar Magistrates Court and remanded for 7 days to assist investigations. The case is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. Police also confirmed the suspect has a prior criminal record. In the incident, the victim, a 52-year-old woman, was found dead at her home with multiple stab wounds. An attempt to smuggle DT unpaid cigarettes through Sungai Golok was foiled after authorities seized nearly abandoned along the riverbank on January 31st. The Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency said a suspicious speedboat travelling from Tak Bai, Thailand towards Tumpat had turned back towards Thai waters to evade enforcement officers. The enforcement team then discovered 94 boxes containing 940,000 sticks of cigarettes, valued at 640,000 ringgit near Gallery Tengku Anis. No arrests were made as the suspects are believed to have fled the scene. The case is being investigated under the Customs Act. Johor police have dismantled a vape drug syndicate that used a car as a drop point to distribute drug-laced vape cartridges. 2 men aged 25 and 38 were arrested around Johor Bahru last Thursday. A local man was first arrested, which led police to a house in Taman Setia Indah, where 3,200 vape cartridges suspected to contain 11.20 litres of ketamine liquid were seized. Police also confiscated 48 packets of ecstasy powder, with a total haul estimated to be worth about 1 million ringgit. A Singaporean man was detained in a second raid where a car and over 100,000 ringgit and cash were seized. Both suspects have been remanded for 7 days to assist investigations. The Johor Immigration Department has busted a so-called flying passport syndicate following an operation at an apartment in Taman Daya, Johor Bahru last Thursday. State Immigration Director Datuk Muhammad Rusdi Muhammad Darus said a 44-year-old local man was arrested during Ops Circup. Authorities also seized 9 passports during the raid, which was carried out based on intelligence and public information. The suspect is being investigated under the Passport Act. Record-breaking snow blankets Japan. The details when Nightline returns.
انت شو اسم العيلة؟ شو اسمك الكامل؟
Hin Raja berusia 6 tahun. Anak kepada Wisam dan Rami ini terperangkap dalam mimpi ngeri di Gaza. 29 Januari 2024, dunianya hancur. Sendirian di celah jasad keluarganya, dia merayu. 10 Februari 2024, dia ditemui kaku. Hin pergi sebagai saksi bisu kepada dunia yang gagal melindunginya.
هند كانت تحب تروح على البحر وكأنه البحر كأنه صاحبها يعني كأنه رفيق إلها.
Maru adik saya ni macam mana? Saya tak kira. Macam mana sekalipun keluarga korang ni kena bertanggungjawab. Aris saya menikah dengan Rena.
Saya takkan pernah anggap awak suami saya sampai bila-bila. Mak awak benci saya.
Kena memang saja lah.
Saya layan awak macam sampah. Tapi awak layan saya macam princess.
Walau sampai detik yang saya ada separuh nafas, saya tetap akan cintakan awak.
Di Cerita Rama TV3, Sabtu ini 10 malam. Dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Seronoknya berkelah, buat aktiviti, makan bersama.
Memori piknik, riadasi isi keluarga.
Tapi Fatin, awak suka tak pisang goreng ke, cempedak goreng ke?
Mestilah suka, sedapnya. Menu gorengan kita bawakan hari Selasa.
Ramai yang cipta konten tanpa batas.
Ini bahaya sebab privasi jadi konten.
Pisah tidur demi menjaga kesihatan mental.
Kita bincangkan Khamis ini.
Gurau senda dengan pasangan.
Hilangkan stres.
Erat kasih sayang. Semuanya di WHI TV3.
Dan sekarang ditonton.
The foreign front now. Record-breaking snowfall across Japan has been blamed for the deaths of 30 people over the past 2 weeks, prompting the government to order the deployment of troops on Tuesday to assist communities in the worst affected areas. Authorities urge residents to remain alert for avalanches and heavy snow sliding off rooftops and warn that power outages could occur in the worst affected areas. Snow accumulation in the northern city of Aomori had reached 175 centimeters, while some areas recorded up to 183 centimeters of snow, breaking a 40-year record of 181 centimeters set in 1986. Earlier, Prime Minister Sane Takaichi convened a special cabinet-level meeting instructing ministers to take all necessary measures to prevent deaths and accidents. 12 Palestinians crossed safely into Egypt via the Rafah crossing on Tuesday. Egyptian media reported that the group included 5 injured people, accompanied by 7 others. However, the figure was far lower than expected after reports on Monday said 150 Palestinians would be allowed into Egypt, while 50 others were to cross into the war-ravaged territory. The sharp drop in crossings was attributed to Israeli authorities tightening security restrictions, coupled with a complex bureaucratic process that limited movement in both directions and continued to block the passage of goods. The long-awaited reopening on Monday followed nearly 2 years of a punishing siege on Gaza, where humanitarian conditions remain dire. Singapore is targeting to 17 to 18 million visitor arrivals in 2026, expected to generate tourism receipts of $22.94 to $24.5 billion US dollars. The tourism board cited global economic uncertainty and political instability as reasons for its cautious projections. Its chief executive, Melissa Au, said the board will continue to explore new markets and support tourism enterprises as Singapore works towards its 2040 tourism goals and a sustainable sector. Singapore's tourism sector showed steady growth in 2025, recording $17.7 billion US dollars in tourism receipts in the first 3 quarters. Still on Singapore, new migrant workers arriving from West Bengal, India, must undergo daily temperature checks as part of enhanced measures to prevent the spread of the Nipah virus. The Manpower Ministry said on Tuesday that those with recent travel history to West Bengal must also monitor their health and report any symptoms daily for 14 days after arrival. As a precaution, surveillance has also been stepped up at the onboarding center and migrant dormitories. So far, no new cases have been reported in the country. Sports badminton. Since the retirement of legendary Datuk Lee Chong Wei, Malaysia is still struggling to produce top-tier men's singles players. Hence, efforts to rebuild the national men's singles squad must begin without delay. And this call came from newly appointed men's junior singles coach Yeo K. Bin. To Yeo, there is a dire need to close that gap with players from other badminton powerhouse nations. Failing to start early development would widen the gap and have long-term detrimental effects on talent continuity at the senior level. Yeo acknowledged that it would be a challenging task, and any further delays will set the squad even further behind. He also warned that tangible results would take more than a year or 2 to materialize. Currently, Malaysia has only 2 men's singles players in the world's top 40 rankings, Leong Jun Hao at 26 and Justin Ho at 39. Now, coping with the hot and dry weather in Kedah, Sekolah Kebangsaan Bandar Baru Sintok has introduced a campaign called One Student, One Water Bottle to create awareness among its students for them to stay hydrated during school activities. These visuals wrap Nightline this time around. And with that, I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thank you for watching and take care, Malaysia.